For years, Freddy Angelico has worked in Nashville's musical trenches as a session player and touring musician. He's played Lower Broad and the Opry stage. He's backed up artists like Mickey Guyton and Brandy Clark. He's played on albums by Lola Kirk and Adeem the Artist, to name just a few. He also makes his own music and writes a column for Premier Guitar magazine. And somehow, in the middle of all that, he found time to make a podcast. Girl in a Hurry tells the story of Freddy's former bandmate, Shelley Bush, a small-town girl with a big voice who tragically passed away before realizing her Music City dreams. It's out now, and as Freddy says, it's a story that in many ways resembles his own. I'm Demetria Kalodimos. It's Banner & Company. What was the first exposure to music?
The first one that really mattered was the children's singer Raffi. Are you hip to Raffi?
Absolutely, I know Raffi.
And I just saw, watching the VHS tapes, and I was transfixed. I was like, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going to do. And my granddad bought a guitar for my sister and I to share, and I took to it and became mine.
And did you learn his entire repertoire?
Absolutely not. I had 2 feet firmly planted in the Twinkle Twinkle stage for a long time, because starting that young, I started when I was 4. You really don't have the motor skills. It's okay to start a kid that young on an instrument if they're really driven and excited about it. If they're not, they don't have the motor skills, they don't have the facility to really progress in a way that can retain their attention. So generally, if folks are like, oh, I got my kid, want to start lessons at 5 years old, it's maybe wait a couple years until they really got the muscle to brain connection.
Yeah, so I'm imagining the guitar sitting on your lap and you playing, Hawaiian style.
I don't know. There's a photo of me very, very young with a mandolin on my lap that I played that way. But yeah, I don't know. I think I really did take to it.
Was guitar friend, confidant, entertainment, all of the above?
Yeah, all of the above. It was just what I did from the beginning.
In school, were you involved in organized music, or were you always?
Yeah, gobbled it up. Got any opportunity to when orchestra started, I did the orchestra, and when I could join band too, I did that, and choir and jazz band and all the things.
Marching band? Dare I ask?
We really did. I went to a pretty small school, and we didn't have a football team, so marching band wasn't really a factor. It was kind of just every once in a while if there was a parade, and we were pretty lousy as far as marching band goes. But yeah, I did that. I mean, that's what I was playing trombone in the band at the time, and decided that was a chore because you have to hold it up, and your arms get tired. So I switched to clarinet because it seemed more practical.
Yeah. I played piccolo in marching band.
Did you really?
That goes right up your sleeve. It's very, very portable.
But you still got to hold your arms up here. I mean, it's still tiring.
Yeah. Was that your crowd, the music and theater group, or?
Yeah. Well, it was a pretty small school, so it was there weren't as many demarcations of the social kind of groups.
And as you found yourself thinking about music as a career, was that encouraged or discouraged?
Well, Demetria, I have no other marketable skills, so I think it was just sort of I think I was incredibly fortunate to grow up with parents that wanted me to be happy, however that played out. Yeah, so it definitely wasn't discouraged.
Yeah. You found yourself at Berkeley up in Boston, right? Mm-hmm. That is sort of become, apart from the conservatory route, that's sort of become the ticket for someone that wants to work in this business, right?
It sure seems that way, doesn't it? A lot of people go there.
Any interesting professors up there?
Oh my gosh, I had so many wonderful professors that made an impact. my all-time favorite was an amazing composer named Marty Epstein, and she taught counterpoint, which is this very old school kind of rules of the road for composition. And the way that she taught it made me fall in love with it. She's just a stunning communicator and teacher, the way that she can break down a complex idea and give it to you in a package that you can really wrap your head around. Amazing composer on her own. And I said, well, this woman is the greatest. I'm going to take every class that she teaches. She taught a class about the music of John Cage and Morton Feldman, who are 20th century composers that have kind of an odd style. If you listen to a lot of songs, they don't really do a lot of songs. They compose with silence, and they compose with chants, and they compose with noise, and it blew my little mind. Just expanded the idea of what was possible with music. It showed me that everything is music and nothing is music. Everything is art and nothing is art, and it was very formative for me. So shout out to Marty Epstein.
Isn't that what college or university is supposed to do, is open up those possibilities to you?
Totally.
Was it becoming clear that you wanted to head to Nashville or play in studios, or?
The proximity of Nashville to my hometown of Chicago was very attractive. Having spent 3 years on the coast, I knew that I wanted to go somewhere that I could get home in a day's drive if needed. And also, I don't know that this was totally conscious at the time, but the music product that Nashville makes still relies fairly heavily on guitar, which is my primary instrument. And so it felt advantageous to try Nashville first. And I haven't tried anything since.
Well, when you first, paint me a picture of your first week in town. Were you out there, just swimming around like a little minnow, or was someone taking you under their wing and showing you around town?
Well, I'll tell you, Demetria, the very first thing that I did was went directly to Lipstick Lounge, did not pass go, did not collect $200. Because I heard there was a gay bar. So I went there. I had a roommate that I had never met in a condo in Bellevue, and I went on Craigslist and was looking for people who were looking for musicians, and met people, started playing shows, and one thing led to another.
Any early disappointments?
I've not been disappointed by anything.
Really? So you hit the ground running?
I mess up a lot, but it's all, I don't know, it's all kind of pointed me eventually to where I want to be.
We hear so much from people that have been here a long time that the scene has changed. You can't just walk up and down Music Row and knock on doors or give someone a song on a CD or a cassette because they won't take your intellectual property and run that risk. But it sounds like you found a community that was supportive and lifting you up and helping you.
I've found many communities. I wish that everybody outside of Nashville could see the Nashville that I see. There is everything here. People who are doing all kinds of music, people who are pushing boundaries in all different areas, and not just music, all types of culture. And I love it. I really have fallen in love with it. And I suppose we'll be getting to my fledgling podcast shortly. But one of the things that exploring that story taught me was that scenes are impermanent, and that's okay. The woman that I did this podcast about, her name is Shelley Bush, and I realized in retrospect that she could have never existed at any other time downtown. It was just the right time. The bars hadn't all gone 3 stories yet. There were still bars that had country music only, and even within that, bars that had specific types of country music, bars that you knew you could go to hear outlaw music, bars that you knew you could go to hear countrypolitan or classic sounds. And it was just at that time, and there she was, and had she lived longer, the scene would have changed, and she probably would have fallen away from it. I think that it steered me away from romanticizing things that are gone. And it's just like, nope, that was beautiful, and it was this big, And it was just then, and that's okay.
It's Banner and Company. I'm Demetria Kalodimos. We'll be right back. When we launched Banner and Company more than a year ago, we wanted to help you get to know your Nashville neighbors. One of the best ways to know a neighborhood is to tap into the experience of a realtor or two who really know the city and the region. Richard Courtney and Lisa Peebles are a pair to draw to, as they say. Kind of like matchmakers, they have the experience and relationships to connect you with people and homes that best serve your personality and your lifestyle. And with more than $1 billion sold, you can bet you'll be in good company. To connect with Richard Courtney and Lisa Peebles, visit NashvilleLuxuryEstates.com. So what made you want to tell Shelley's story?
Shelley was a legend to so many people downtown. She is still reverently talked about in circles of people who played downtown, but she is not known to the broader music community in Nashville or beyond or outside of her hometown of Stover, Missouri. I also realized as I was beginning to think about telling the story that the 10th anniversary of her passing was coming up. And so I thought it would be meaningful to mark that occasion with a feeble retelling of her life story.
Yeah, if not now, when?
Yeah, somebody's got to.
Yeah. Also, from postal worker to, I'm going to say outrageous girl singer. Was she outrageous? Would you use that, or just?
She wasn't an outrageous person. Yeah, she was exuberant. I mean, she wasn't an outrageous person. She was pretty even keel. But she just got into some hijinks. I think she just was kind of a hijink magnet. Yeah, there was nobody like her for sure. What did you think about, did I do a good job? Is that weird to ask?
No.
I've got you in front of me, and I'm dying to know what you think about my editing and my audio.
Well, I'm impressed that you realized there was a story there that needed telling almost before it was too late. Because you talked about everything having its time and place and moment in history. And we were approaching an anniversary in the Shelley story, right? Mm-hmm. The Shelley Bush story.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's partly because I lived it. And so to me, it was indelible. To me, it was just this, of course, Shelley, she's a legend. And then I realized that people didn't really know about her. I have one of my dearest friends in the world, my former roommate, Teddy Minton, is the historian at the Bell Court. And when he was doing his master's in history, his project was an oral history project about women musicians in Nashville. It inspired me to do an oral history project about Shelley's life, and I realized that as an oral history, the uninitiated had maybe too much information to wade through. The average music fan wants to know about a cool Nashville story, wouldn't have been able to look at all of these hours and hours of tape that I had and parse out what's Shelley's story from all these other long interviews. So that's what made me want to give it a narrative.
So what was your process? Who was your first interview and who was your last?
My first interviews were her former boyfriend and one of her best friends, Rod Jansen, and my hero, Karen D. And I wanted to interview Rod first because Rod knew more about her early time in Nashville than almost anybody else that I had access to. There's a bit of a gap in Shelley's late 90s, early 2000s that I don't spend a lot of time on in the podcast, and part of that is because I wasn't able to track down a lot of people who really had that information. A few people I was I'm sure you know how it goes. You send a million texts and it's oh, this time, and then that doesn't work out, and eventually you just have to put out your podcast. And so there were a few interviews that I wanted to do but couldn't for whatever reason. And then as far as the process goes, I mean, now looking back on it, I would do it totally differently. I would have organized everything differently. I would have done human transcripts from the beginning. But I also don't intend to do it again, and I think I would have to be paid an exorbitant amount of money because, wow, is it hard to make a podcast?
Well, it's also a huge undertaking to do honor to someone's life story.
Yeah.
Particularly when they haven't been written about or talked about very much before.
Yeah.
You have that advantage that no one knows, so they can't tell what you've left out. But at the same time, you're very close to this person, so you've got an obligation.
Oh gosh, yeah, and what a weight that is. You want to do right by them. You want to do right by their family and their friends and the people who still care about them. I felt the pressure of that enormously. It was very intense and emotional while I was trying to get my redneck master's degree in spectral denoise to figure out how to make some of the crappy audio not quite so crappy. We were talking before we came in here about the Prophet Omega and your brilliant work on that. And I thought of that when Steve asked me about doing this and about talking to you. I was like, you probably felt that way a little too.
You know what, though? I think people's eyes and ears are forgiving when you're dealing with true subject matter, people that really lived. We're in documentary and also in podcasts like your own. So there was a freight train coming through every once in a while in the audio. You explain it, you apologize for it, and people, go along for the ride.
Yeah.
So I don't think people are that hung up on perfection if the story's there.
Yeah.
And you knew the story was there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm much more hung up on perfection. Perhaps you are a little this way too. I tried to let it go towards the end, every little tiny thing. And you're right. When it comes to the podcast that I listen to, I listen to, you may share my interest in the Chicago Cubs, and I listen to center fielder Ian Happ's podcast, The Compound. And man, when those sports guys, they just audio quality not at the front of those guys' minds.
Not at all.
No, they leave their mics behind, and the producer is, he's got his phone up to the laptop recording the Zoom meeting, and you get what you get because you're interested in what that guy has to say. You're not listening to it because of the audio quality. You're listening for the content of his thoughts and his words.
How did you meet Shelley?
I was getting off the road with a regionally successful country cover band, and I needed work. And my friend told me about this woman who had an all-girl band and played lots of gigs downtown. And at the time, I had boobs and a guitar, so I was eminently qualified. And she put me to work right away.
And what kind of stuff? Covers, original music, what?
She peppered in a few originals, but it was mostly covers because she was mostly playing downtown. And so it was, most of the bars downtown, you're not going to get people to come in and listen if you're not playing mostly covers.
And the all-girl band was, of course, deliberate, but I'm also assuming quite skilled.
Oh, yeah. I mean, most of them were. Shelley definitely gave musicians a chance who otherwise might not have had a chance. And so sometimes that meant that the skill levels were varied. But I certainly met incredible musicians, people that I still play with to this day, and people who have gone on to do amazing things, and people who've gone on to do totally ordinary things, people who have families and who've gotten married and manage a fleet of auto part delivery vans or play bass in Tandy Tucker's band. It runs the gamut.
Yeah. Did you guys have like a house gig, or was it all over Lower Broad and then some?
While I played with her, she was playing primarily at the Full Moon Saloon and Layla's. Full Moon Saloon, of course, is now a Mellow Mushroom. I played one other gig in there since it became a Mellow Mushroom, a little surreal. But she'd played lots of bars. She would park it somewhere for a while, and just as the gigs kind of came and went, she played lots of places.
I'm a little ashamed that I don't know of Shelley, but I guess I'm not unusual in that regard.
Don't be ashamed. Yeah, that's why I did this. to show people who she was.
Was she strictly a vocalist, or was she...
Yeah, she was strictly a vocalist.
But an all-around entertainer, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, she was entertaining. I was certainly entertained. We were all entertained. And she was a really, really good singer. She was a really good singer.
And what was her route to town? Yeah, didn't she come from Missouri or somewhere?
Yes, she was born in Stover, Missouri, and she went to college. And after college, she got a job cleaning hotel rooms and found out that she could maybe make a little more money and have benefits if she worked at the post office. So she started working at the post office in Stover, selling people their stamps and sorting their packages until she found out about an opening at the post office in Springfield, Tennessee. And she told her mom, I'm going to transfer down there. And her mom said, well, you got to do what you got to do. And off she went with dreams and hopes that someone would notice her.
But she was a karaoke kid.
She was a karaoke kid. Yep, she loved karaoke.
But the funny thing was, wasn't she like into Alabama and then some of the quote-unquote girl singers? But
yes.
She was learning the canon,
yeah,
right?
She loved country music. She really did. And Alabama was her favorite band, but she knew tons of music.
Isn't that what people want or wanted at that period of time in a lower broad band, is to hear the songs as they heard them on the radio and on the records?
Yeah, definitely. An interesting thing about Shelley's time that I didn't really have time to delve into in the podcast is that she sort of came up and there weren't a lot of other female lead singers at that time. There, of course, have been many great female lead singers on lower Broadway, and she wasn't the first. I certainly wouldn't claim that. But she did emerge in a pocket of time that it was vast majority dudes. And she really helped set the canon for musicians that followed her of girl songs that you would sing downtown. And people still kind of mostly follow her program.
It's Banner and Company, and my guest is musician and writer Freddy Angelico. Let's hear a little bit of Shelley Bush's music. Here is Girl in a Hurry. Biggest discovery about Shelley that you just did not have a clue until you were sitting down with a microphone between you and someone else?
Biggest discovery? What a great question. Biggest discovery about Shelley?
Or surprise, or something that just kind of took you aback.
I mean, the sheer volume of clothes that she owned. I mean, I knew that she owned a lot, but when you look at the estate sale and it says that there's 3,000 plus clothing items, it's like, I own 5 pairs of pants. That's like as much clothes as I've ever heard of. How many clothes are in a Forever 21? I mean, at one time.
Who handled her estate sale? That's kind of sad.
Family tree estate sales. I don't know. Her parents had a lot to do with it. Her parents and her probably her financial partner at the end of her life, Garnet, had something to do with it too. But it was mostly the responsibility of her parents, which is incredibly sad. That was some of the most difficult. That was a very difficult part of the podcast, was talking to her mom about that stuff. Because she's just real sad. No parent should have to go through that.
Absolutely. And without giving too much away or spoiling it, Shelley didn't live long.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a spoiler. She's been dead for 10 years. Yeah, she died in 2015 of cancer, and she was sick for a long time, but she didn't really acknowledge it, and so it all seemed to happen pretty fast from my perspective, from the perspective of people who were playing with her.
And was there hope for a cure at any point, or was she pretty reconciled to the
Was
terminal
she
nature.
Hope from whom is the question. I mean, the message was pretty unequivocal from medicine that she should just be comfortable and prepare. But for Shelley, I mean, she was still going. I texted her because this is a whole story I tell in the podcast, but the doctors at Vanderbilt didn't want to administer chemotherapy because she was too weak. And so she found herself a doctor in Texas that was willing to do it. And she transferred to MD Anderson in Houston, Texas. And I texted her when she was off, and I said, "Hey, everybody downtown, Mrs. Uton's thinking about you." And she was basically like, "Feeling great, gonna be back soon," you know. And I was texting some friends about all the stuff I'm doing around her story and the event that I'm having next week about it, the live event that anybody's welcome to come to. And one of my friends texted me back and was like, "Yeah, I'll always remember when she was in Texas, she was trying to get me on some gigs at Cadillac Ranch. Like, she was booking gigs from the hospital."
Wow.
And she just was laser focused. She played gigs, and that's who she was.
Do you think that lengthened her life? That resolve that I'm going to get through this?
That's a good question. I hesitate to speculate because I think it's hard to know. Like, had she gone to a different doctor sooner, would it have changed the outcome? Had she not been playing so many gigs, would she have gone to a different doctor sooner? I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah. Other friends that are in the podcast, did she ever rub elbows with, super famous people who recognized her talent?
That's a good question. I guess I don't know. It didn't ever come up. Super famous people didn't come up. So I guess I don't know the answer, but my gut says not really. At the same time, she was very much rubbing elbows with the who's who of Music Row and high-powered managers and lawyers and publishers. And, I have the privilege of playing the Grand Ole Opry from time to time, and I mentioned that I was doing this project to members of the Opry House Band, and many of them were like, "Oh, yeah, Shelley, like, she worked so hard. I played on her album, blah, blah, blah." I mean, she was a known quantity for sure.
Why did the deal elude her?
Well,
and was it that important?
Well, it certainly was her focus. She wanted a record deal, and to her, that was success. Why it eluded her? I mean, it's every reason and no reason. I think that's the story of a lot of people in town who have a dream and have a very specific, narrow vision of what that dream is going to take. And you don't fit in for whatever reason. You're not able enough to color inside the lines. You're not perfect enough. You're not whatever enough. I don't know. I tried not to dwell on that in the podcast because to me, what was so beautiful about Shelley was the way that she had this incredible broad impact on Nashville and on a community of women musicians, and had no intent at all at having this really beautiful, broad, altruistic impact. It just happened.
Is there a lot of recorded music by Shelley?
Yes.
And who was responsible for that?
I think it's mostly in Rod's garage. And I do intend, when all of this kind of settles down, to get with him and pull some of that out and try to. I know her main financial partner at the end of her life, Garnet, has some masters and stuff too. So I would love to get some more of that out there and put some more of it up on streaming.
If someone wants to look right now, though, where's the treasure trove?
Well, there is. It's maybe less of a trove and more of a trail of breadcrumbs. There is at least one album on Spotify. There are 2 albums on Apple Music. There's a random SoundCloud up with a bunch of stuff. She has a defunct, well, it's all defunct, but she's got an old Reverb Nation page that has a couple recordings on it. Yeah, I would like to work on getting some of this stuff digitized and dragged kicking and screaming into this millennium.
Was she a writer?
She wrote. I mean, she was always doing rights and making connections around town, but it was just that. It was a means of making a connection. I think she enjoyed writing songs, but where her heart was, what was in her DNA was performing.
Yeah. If you were going to compliment her, what would be the greatest compliment? You sound just like, or you remind me of, what would have set her on fire?
Oh, man.
You mentioned Blue Bayou. Was she like Linda Ronstadt?
Yeah, I mean, she did have that, like, incredible vocal control. That I think of when I think of Linda Ronstadt. I think, I mean, people compared her to her singing style to Martina McBride, too. I think she would have been flattered by that. I think she wanted to be entertaining. I think if you just told her you had a good time, you enjoyed the show, I think that was what she wanted to hear more than anything. You're a star.
And again, not that it matters, but I'm sure she didn't get rich. Did she struggle, or did she do okay?
I mean, I think she worked more than anybody else. Like, there's just a sheer quantity of gigs was so far above and beyond anybody else who was working downtown at that time. And so I think she did all right. I mean, she definitely wasn't self-funding every new venture that she was doing. All of the, like, the albums and the photo shoots and stuff, she needed a leg up, but that's a lot of people.
And was she waiting tables and doing other jobs, or was music it?
Music was it. When she quit the post office, she did music full time. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. She's awesome.
And isn't that a Nashville success story in and of itself, when someone has never done anything but music? I mean,
and I've never not had a day job. I've always had, like, things going on, and I do a little bit of everything. And so I certainly don't begrudge anybody for having a day job.
Sure.
It's comforting. It's secure. I know that I have this financial floor that I can build the rest of my stuff on. It enables me to say no to certain opportunities, maybe in a way that Shelley couldn't. Shelley, if there was a paying gig, Shelley found a way to get there.
And as a guitar player, I imagine you don't handle power tools, or you better not.
Oh, but Demetria, as a gay, I love power tools. Nothing could make me more excited. What are you talking about? I love power tools.
Be very, very careful.
I'll try. I did drop. I have very nice humidifiers in my home because I have fine instruments that are riddled with cracks and problems. And my blender, the main
the pitcher part.
Yeah, the main chunk of my blender is exactly the right amount of water for the big humidifier in my music room. And there's nowhere really good to keep it because it's giant, so I keep it on top of the fridge. And the other day, I opened the fridge and down came the blender onto my hand. And I had a session all this weekend, and I was like, my hand hurts. Like, I can't really play some of these chunky chords. So you're right, I should. But also, I've been, wanting to encase myself in a bubble for years now. It wasn't that long ago that I insisted on playing every gig in a helmet. I had to be disabused of that notion. I'm kidding, of course, kind of.
And what don't you play?
Woodwinds. I mean, I can, but I don't. But it's all the same after a while. I mean, they're all pretty much. I mean, not totally the same. I wouldn't proffer myself as a woodwind player, but if you gave me a weekend and a saxophone, I'm sure I could figure it out.
You've said that Shelley's story is in a way your story. What are the parallels?
Just a couple of working girls trying to get by. I mean, Shelley's story is everybody's story in this town. People who move here from somewhere else move here because they sense that there's an opportunity for them that they don't have. Shelley moved here from Stover, Missouri. I mean, a town with no stoplights and 20 roads. Her cousin told me cousin told me, there's one grocery store, there's one beauty shop, there's two restaurants, one of which is not even open in the wintertime. I just thought that was such a perfect picture of small town Missouri. But even me, I moved here from a big city, but my friends who play music in Chicago do 85 million things. They might have an original music project that they're excited about, but they have a wedding band, which is different from their jazz band, and they teach lessons, and they host an open mic, and they work at a coffee shop. And in Nashville, I know that I'm going to make a certain amount of money every time I put a guitar on. And that's just not an opportunity that I could have had anywhere else. So I guess that's how I mean that my story is Shelley's story. We both wanted something different for ourselves.
Banner and Company is a production of the new Nashville Banner. This episode was produced and edited by Steve Haruch. The original music is by Verlin Thompson. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast or go to NashvilleBanner.com. You're in good company. We do a little thing here on Banner and Company. The final question resides in the fishbowl.
The question is in the fishbowl?
Yep. Whichever one,
several questions in this fishbowl.
Whichever one you choose. So choose wisely.
I don't know what they are. Okay.
Well, it's supposed to be a surprise.
I'm so stressed out. It looks like the rocks look like nerds. Are y'all into nerds gummies?
They do look a little like nerds.
The clusters. The nerds clusters. They're expensive, but they're good. Okay. Okay, now what?
Tell us who it's from and
Terrific.
Answer it.
This is from Rebecca Haw Allensworth. What was the first concert? U2 at the Allstate Arena. right down the road from Morton Grove.
Yeah,
Does it go back in the fishbowl?
No, it can go out. And the year was, and what do you remember about it?
I don't remember the year. I remember that it was a spectacle. I remember the production. I remember the incredible, huge guitar sounds. I thought it was awesome. And it was awesome. I love you too.